Hi, I'm Peter.
And I'm Will.
And you're watching Anderson Jazz Jams.
Episode number 14.
This channel is brought to you by our generous Patreons who give as little as $1 a month, and you can find the link below.
This week we're going to perform a song by Duke Ellington entitled Prelude to a Kiss.
This week on Technique Tips, we're going to talk about forming a good embouchure on the saxophone.
And what we're going to talk about applies to both saxophone and clarinet playing because there is quite a bit of overlap. And when I think of forming a good embouchure on these instruments, I think about saying the letter Q. Because when we say the letter Q, we're forced to form a pad with our lower lip and we pull those muscles upward. And at the same time, we keep our chin flat. It's really important to not scrunch up the muscles in the chin like that and really pull them down while forming a nice pad on the upper lip. This will not only help your sound, it'll help your intonation, and it'll also prevent you from getting tired when you're playing.
On Improve Your Improv this week, we're going to talk about going to jam sessions. Now, when my brother and I were in school, we had the fortune of the great pianist Hank Jones visiting and giving a master class and talking about learning tunes and repertoire and vocabulary. And the one thing he said that really stuck with me was that if you want to get better at improvising, if you want to learn jazz, you have to go to jam sessions. And the reason for this is it's the perfect environment for you to get to play, but also hear other people at the same time. So you're constantly evaluating how you're doing. When you go to jam sessions, you're listening to people better than you. You're also getting the chance to play and interact with the rhythm section. Just by doing this one thing, maybe once a week, going to a jam session, having the bravery to go on stage, it's really going to elevate your level very quickly.
And you want to strive to find jam sessions where the other musicians are better than you. You don't always want to go to a jam session where maybe you're the best player, because you want to be thrown in to uncomfortable situations where you're going to be outside of your comfort zone. You might be forced to play on a song that's at a tempo that you're unfamiliar or weak at, and it'll help you grow as a musician to play some new songs, play at new tempos, play with new musicians. So we really recommend it.
This week on Things You Don't Learn in Music School, we're going to talk about greeting the client when you've booked a gig. My brother and I perform all over the country at jazz festivals and concert series. We just got back from California and we're about to go to Texas later this month. And we've really learned that if you want to make a living and perform jazz for your career, you really have to greet the client or the producer or the director, whoever's putting on your concert, with a lot of respect and kind of work with them on what their goals are for the performance.
Being band leaders and producers of many of our own concerts, we have an idea of what goes on behind the scenes of not just playing the music. So it does give us a lot of respect for producers and people helping put on our concerts. You always want to make them comfortable with the repertoire that you're playing, how long each set is going to be, whether there's going to be a sound check, how that's all going to be worked out. These details, confirming them with the producer or the client, is going to make a huge difference in the way everyone feels, and it's ultimately going to get you hired again.
This week on Jazz Hangouts, we're going to talk about a jazz club here in New York City that's actually only a few blocks from my apartment, and it's on Broadway and 106th Street here in New York. It's called Smoke Jazz Club. We just love Smoke. It was actually the first New York City jazz club that we ever had a chance to play at. When we were about 17 or 18, we came to New York and we played at a jam session here with John Farnsworth at Smoke Jazz Club. It's just a great place where top New York musicians are playing. It's got a friendly atmosphere. We highly recommend you check out Smoke.
For this week's Lick of the Week, we'd like to play a phrase that was played by many great bebop musicians, and I think most notably by Coleman Hawkins, and he inserted it into his own song called Boff Boff, and it's often used by jazz musicians in lots of different settings, and it's really useful to know. So it's very rhythmic in nature. There's not too many notes to it, often played by the soloist and then answered by the rhythm section, and it comes in handy in a lot of different situations. I'll play it one more time, a little bit slower.
This week on Cats You Know, we're going to talk about a great bass player here in New York City named Neal Miner. We've been playing with him for the past 6 or 7 years. He's often on tour and found on recordings with the great vocalist Jane Monheit. And he has a record label called Gutstring Records, which my brother and I are on. A lot of our friends and colleagues have jazz records put out on this label. So it's a really great collection of musicians that are kind of in the bebop and hard bop traditions. So we highly recommend you check out Neal's label called Gutstring Records.
And Neal Miner's played with so many artists, including the late great vocalist Jon Hendricks and Grant Stewart and Harry Allen, and he can be heard very often at Smalls Jazz Club and Mesro, so look him up, Neal Miner.
We're going to put all of our Patreons on the screen, and we really appreciate their support. They give as little as $1 a month to help this channel going, help us keep you in the loop with all these weekly videos. And we really want to encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, to click the notification bell, to give us a thumbs up or a comment below. We'd also love to hear what topics you'd like us to cover in this channel, because there's such a wide range of things that we do, and we'd love to bring those to you. So again, we want to thank you so much for watching Anderson Jazz Jams.
See you soon.